we know that James Gunn is now the head of DC. He's running it with his partner Peter Safran, and there was a little while ago where James Gunn put out a series of tweets bringing up announcements of what was coming. And in the series of tweets, he had mentioned, we covered this on the show a little while ago, he had mentioned, someone asked if Ben Affleck was going to direct, and he had said that they had sat down with a meeting with Ben Affleck and that Ben Affleck was very interested in directing for a DC property. They just had to find out which was the right property for him to do. Well, Ben Affleck did an interview with the Hollywood Reporter promoting his movie Air. And he had some comments in there that are now having some people online looking to James Gunn and calling him a bit of a liar, because what James Gunn said about Ben Affleck's interest in directing a DC movie, Ben Affleck did not share the same sentiments. Here's what Ben Affleck had to say. So this is an interview with him that he was doing for Air, and he talks a little bit about how movies like Air, like smaller movies, are more his thing. And the interviewer who was interviewing him very cleverly said, as opposed to what? And she got some information out of him. So here's what Ben Affleck had to say about his time with DC. I was going to direct a Batman, and Justice League made me go, I'm out. I never want to do any of this again. I'm not suited. That was the worst experience I've ever seen in a business, which is full of some pretty crappy experiences. It broke my heart. There was an idea of someone, Joss Whedon, coming in like, I'll rescue you and we'll do 60 days of shooting and I'll write a whole thing around what you have. I've got the secret. And it wasn't the secret. That was hard. And I started to drink too much. I was back at the hotel in London. It was either that or jump out the window. And I just thought, this isn't the life I want. My kids aren't here. I'm miserable. You want to go to work and find something interesting to hang on to rather than just wearing a rubber suit, and most of it you're just standing against the computer screen going, if this nuclear waste gets loose, well, that's fine. I don't condescend to that or put it down, but I got to a point where I found it creatively not satisfying. Also, just you're sweaty and exhausted, and I thought I'd want to participate, and I thought I don't want to participate in this anyway, and I don't want to squander any more of my life, of which I have a limited amount. All right, so those are comments from Ben Affleck talking about his time with Justice League. Now, he goes on to say, like, he is proud of the stuff that they did in Batman vs. Superman. He enjoyed his time with that. He was very happy to do the Zack Snyder Justice League cut, and now it's, like, his highest-rated movie on IMDb, and he's thankful for that. But the thing that he said in this interview, when the interviewer asked him a question about would he direct for James Gunn's DC, or if James Gunn were to approach him, and Ben Affleck, this is the quote that Ben Affleck said that people have been taking out of context and running with news articles and using as bait to say that James Gunn basically lied. Here's what he had to say. I would not direct something for the James Gunn DC. Absolutely not. I have nothing against James Gunn. Nice guy. Sure, he's going to do a great job. I just wouldn't want to go in and direct in the way that they're doing that. I'm not interested in that. Again, this is the key part that has been taken out of context, that has been used and as the phrase that's been put all over articles. I wouldn't want to go in and direct in the way that they're doing that. I'm not interested in that. And that comes to us straight from Ben Affleck himself. Okay, so a couple things here that I want to talk about. First of all, I really love it when a celebrity, when someone in the industry can just kind of take their walls down a little bit, be honest, be personal, and let us see the human being that's there a lot more. And I really loved that Ben Affleck was so willing and so open about his experience on Justice League. Because as fans, we can be like, this guy, this celebrity guy who has it all, he's got this big blockbuster budgeted movie, he's making all this money, like, how can he complain, right? But to hear him be so open about how bad the experience was, how he was unfit for it, he just didn't enjoy it, it wasn't what he wanted to do creatively, it led to some very depressing moments, like the fact that all of that, and the fact that he would still come back and do Batman for the Flash, which he talks about a little bit in the article. He's like, for the 5 minutes I'm in it, I'm great, which is kind of funny. I have a lot of respect for Ben Affleck for saying that, and it's just easier as a fan when you see the person behind the persona, behind the celebrity, behind the Batman costume being human and personal like that. It's easier for me as a fan to be like, yeah, let him move on. If we never get Ben Affleck Batman again, I'm okay with it because Ben Affleck needs to let it go. I love hearing that. All right. Going on to this second part, this quote about not wanting to direct for James Gunn because he doesn't like the direction and he wouldn't want to direct in that way. So two things here. People calling James Gunn a liar on Twitter because he said that Ben Affleck wants to direct for DC. Here's what I would say to that. We weren't in the room when James Gunn sat down and met with Ben Affleck. And how many times have you had a conversation with someone or been in a meeting with someone and you feel like you're on the same page, then you walk off and you guys are actually on opposite pages? That's a very likely situation that could have happened here. Maybe Ben Affleck was open to the idea of directing a DC movie when he talked with James Gunn. Maybe James Gunn got the impression that Ben Affleck was in, that he was interested. Maybe time went on. Maybe Ben Affleck realized, actually, I don't want to go back to that. I don't want to do that. Maybe he changed his mind. People are allowed to do that. Maybe he never wanted to do it in the first place and James Gunn just took the reading wrong. I will say this, though. James Gunn, I have thought, does need to kind of cool down on Twitter a little bit. I feel like he's so quick to answer so many questions, which in some ways is great, but in other ways it's like, just let the trolls be, James. Like, just leave it alone. You don't have to go on with that. All right. So that's the first part. I'm not one of those that believe James Gunn lied. I believe it could have been a miscommunication, could have been something. The second part of this, where he says, I wouldn't want to direct in the way that they're doing that. Some people are taking this quote from Ben Affleck and saying, Ben Affleck just dissed the DCU. Ben Affleck just dissed what James Gunn and Peter Safran are doing. He says that it's going to suck. He doesn't want to direct with the direction that they're going. Okay, here's what I would say to that. James Gunn was very, very, very deep into the Marvel machinery. He knew probably the ins and outs of how Marvel worked. He was very close to Kevin Feige. He was actually once going to be Kevin Feige's right-hand man for running the cosmic side of the MCU. He knows what Marvel has done to run a cinematic universe. And one of the things that is very famous for Kevin Feige to do with his directors, especially in the earlier phases of Marvel, he's kind of lost it a little bit with Phase 4, but hopefully they're getting back to this, is he'll bring directors in and he'll say, all right, you are going to direct Captain America Civil War, but to the Russo brothers, but this has to happen, this can't happen because we're leading into this and I don't want this to interfere with that. You have this sandbox, you have this playground that you can play in, you have perimeters, stay in the perimeters, but the playground is yours to do whatever else you want to do with. That's the famous Kevin Feige way with his directors up until this point. I feel like when I read this quote and Ben Affleck saying, I just wouldn't want to go in and direct in the way that they're doing that, I feel like, and this is all speculation, James Gunn might be adapting that into his leadership as well over at DC. I feel like this could be a situation where James Gunn is going to bring in directors and be like, hey, we have this overarching story that we want to tell over all these DC movies and properties and TV shows, so come in, do this movie, but you can't have full creative control because within the universe, this has to happen in your movie. This can't happen. Don't do this, otherwise it'll mess up the other movie. And I feel like Ben Affleck might be saying in this quote that, yeah, he probably met with the guys, he probably heard that, and he would just rather have full creative control to do whatever movie he wants, to make it however he wants. He doesn't want rules. He doesn't want regulations. So I don't think that this quote, or any of these quotes that Ben Affleck gave in this interview, were any shots at DC, were any shots at James Gunn or Peter Safran. I simply think that creatively, he doesn't want to go down the superhero route, and he wants to do some other indie, smaller films, or maybe just other films in other genres in general. There's nothing wrong with that, and I don't see any problems with any of Ben Affleck's quotes here. But that's just me, guys. That's my interpretation of what we were reading here. What do you guys think of these quotes from Ben Affleck? Are you sad that you're not going to see him as Batman after The Flash anymore? Are you looking forward to seeing what James Gunn and Peter Safran do with the DC universe? Comment down below. Let me know all your thoughts and opinions, guys. And with that out of the way, let's see what you guys are saying about this.